Hello, boys and girls, and welcome back to another Epic 7 First Thoughts and Initial Impressions video. In this one, I'll be giving my, again, initial thoughts and impressions on that time I got reincarnated as a slime characters, as well as ML5 Celine. I will give you my thoughts on how I think they should be built, my thoughts on the actual characters, where I think they're going to fit in the meta. Do I think they're worth pulling? All those good things we'll cover in this video, just not really specific gear breakpoints because we just don't have the damage numbers, and obviously we just haven't gotten to play test the characters yet, so we just don't really know. So the first character to talk about is my favorite character from the series, and that is Rimaru Tempest. He is an Earth Warrior of the Libra Zodiac symbol, so he has the same stat lines as Luna and Holiday Euphine. Imprint releases effect resistance, which is solid. Is one of the ones that actually has a decent bit of use in high end because you could stack a bunch of these like Crimson Armin and Amelia and things like that. And it's pretty potent when you have a couple of them together. It basically allows your cleanser to potentially edge out a debuff. So not terrible. Imprint concentration is attack percentage, which I don't really care for because I don't really think Rimro is a damage dealer after looking at his kit. I personally think that he is more of a speedy tank or a speedy bruiser. I don't really think you want too much damage on him. Some is fine, obviously, so that he at least doesn't hit like a wet noodle, but I really just think I'd want this character to live and take as many turns as possible, and you'll see why that's the case when we talk about his actual kit. So the first thing to talk about is the skill 2, Analyze and Assess. After attacking with a non-basic skill, Rimuru copies 2 buffs when the target is buffed, regardless of whether the attack hits, and grants their effects to all allies. This effect is not applied to undispellable buffs. When an ally is attacked by a buffed enemy, activates Be Ready against the attacker can only be activated once every 3 turns. Be Ready is a counter attack that increases the combat readiness of Rimuru by 30%. So, essentially, if a buffed enemy attacks anyone on your team and this skill is available, Rimuru will counter with Be Ready, and Be Ready is a non-basic skill, which means he will copy 2 buffs that are on the target. That is the basic gist of how it works as far as I am understanding. That means that if somebody like, say, Cerise at the start of a fight, if she has stealth, she will use her S3 and give your whole team slow and restrict. And because she was buffed at the start of the attack, Rimuru will then counter with Be Ready and then take her invincibility buff and give it to your whole team. So he already has decent applications, I feel like, against Cleave or Control because of that. Like, they're setup characters. It might even work against Closer Charles if they like Closer Charles on like immunity, for example. He could steal the attack buff and evasion and give it to your whole team, which is detrimental to them. The most obvious one is Maid Chloe. If you do not have Blood Moon Haste, you need to get Rimaru Tempest because he can steal the re-raise buff and the attack buff. They literally just go Maid Chloe S3 and then like Fallen Cecilia S1, and you're like, cool, I'll just take your re-raise buff and I'll take your attack buff. Obviously, speaking of Fallen Cecilia, she can kind of mess with things because she may go first and then she'll S1 with immunity and barrier, and then you'll just take immunity and barrier, and then you just don't have the skill up for the next 3 turns. And then they use all their really awesome buffs, and you're just like, man, I wish I could have copped those instead. So for that reason, I feel like you want Rimuru to be really fast. The faster Rimuru cycles turns, the more you can use Be Ready, the more you can copy buffs and make sure that you're on even keel with your opponent. Obviously, just seems like a really strong skill. I think it's the main reason to play the character. Just for completeness sake, we will show off Be Ready. So yeah, pretty decent animation, nothing like crazy. So let's talk about his S3, which is Devour It Black Flame. It has 4 to 5 turn cooldown depending on Mulligora, and obviously we do not know the damage numbers about it, but it does have a 5,000 fixed damage to the single target that it attacks, and that fixed damage increases proportional to the number of buffs that are on your team, up to a maximum of 10,000 fixed damage. If this move targets a buffed character, it will decrease the defense of all enemies for 2 turns, and it's unaffected by elemental disadvantage. Because it says it's additional fixed damage, I believe this means it functions like Soul Bad Guys, where it is an extra 5,000 at the end of the turn. So essentially, you will S3, do the damage that the move is supposed to deal, and then any passives like Tempest Surn, for example, will proc, and then you will inflict that extra 5,000 true damage, or up to 10,000 true damage at the end, which is really good. So this character could one-shot a character like Tempest, who isn't really super in meta right now, but Celine, who we'll talk about at the end of the video, she has a similar passive, so this move might actually be the counter to her. In fact, Rimiru might be the counter to that character entirely, because he can steal or I should say copy the buffs that she gives herself and her entire team. So that's really, really good. All right, so the decreased defense is obviously really nice as well. Because this move has defense break and it has true damage, Rimiru, I feel like, will always deal a ton of damage regardless of how much attack he has. So that's another reason why I don't think you really want damage. You just want to be tanky, so you can just tanky and fast, so you can just keep copying buffs and keep looping this move, so that way you can just keep dishing out true damage to the enemy. Unaffected by elemental disadvantage is simply just here, so that way if you target a red character, you know the character feels like they have some inherent usage. Like, you don't want to just get hosed by bringing Rimiru into a bunch of red characters. They try to balance limited characters like their ML5s for the most part. And then the Soul Burn decreases the skill cooldown by 2 turns, which I think is pretty good. It's not as broken as extra turn, but this is pretty good when you have a 10,000 plus damage, true damage nuke. Being able to use it every other turn is pretty potent, especially for this cost. So yeah, really, really cool move. It looks super sick too. So yeah, just like in the show, really cool overall. So let's talk about this S1 now, which is, okay, shall I get started? It is a basic attack that grants a random buff to Rimiru for 1 turn. And the buffs you can get are immunity, which is decent. Critical hit resist, which is awesome. Increased attack, which I feel like a lot of people are going to think this is pretty good. But again, I don't really feel like Rimiru needs attack. Like, if you're just hard to kill, you'll just be stealing a lot of buffs. And you'll just be using your true damage nuke, and that's got a damage floor. So like, I can't really do less than like 5 to 10k damage on my S3 every single time I use it. So I don't really feel like I need increased attack. We'll see with the multipliers. If it has like a crazy scaling, then sure. And then increased effect resistance. Just feels like they always put 1 dud in here. Maybe this is for flavor reasons, because magic doesn't work against Rimiru. I don't really know. This one's kind of the dud. It's an okay move. It just kind of lends itself to having more buffs on your team for his S3. I'm pretty sure that's why they gave it to him. Nothing great. Just feels more of like a flavor win than anything else. Let's talk about Rimiru's artifact now. So it has a 50 to 100% chance to grant a random buff to Rimiru for 2 turns at the start of the turn. And the random buffs you can get are immunity, attack, defense, crit hit damage, and speed. Some of these are pretty nice overall. Overall though, like, I think it's a solid artifact, but I don't know. It's basically justice for all. It's warrior justice for all. And if Rimiru is like really fast and really tanky, then sure, this might actually be pretty good. If you remember Falcon or Clury, when people realize like, oh, like 270, 280 speed Falcon or Clury with justice for all is pretty insane. That could be the case for this this artifact. Like if you go maybe like 260 speed Rimro, which is a bunch of bulk, no real attack, like getting some of these is pretty decent. Like the defense buff, the increased speed, it adds up. Like Clury does good damage because how fast she is and some of the buffs that she can get from Justice for All. So this stuff adds up. I don't think it's like unplayable, but it requires a very specific character and a very specific build. Like essentially, if you're playing a fast bruiser style warrior, then this is a pretty good artifact. I think it is worth picking up because Justice for All is really good in the scenarios that it's good in. It's just really, really niche for the most part. So those are my thoughts on Rimiru. Let's move on to the new goddess that's probably going to completely wreck the meta in the same way that Rem did, and that is Milum. So Milum is a fire mage, and she is of the Cancer zodiac symbol, which is appropriate because that's how I kind of feel about this character. So after reading her a couple times, and also she's the only shares a stat line with Red Tenebria, who is a character that for lore reasons I don't really like. So incredibly high attack, very high HP for a mage. Like 4895 is not a good health total, but mages have crap health usually for the most part, and this is really good for a mage. This is really good, guys. 110 speed, obviously really good as well. Good defense, above average crit hit chance, crit damage, and so on and so forth. So obviously Red Tenebrae is like feels like the baby girl at Smilegate and super creative, so they kind of gave her her own unique stat line that was really pushed because it has crazy high attack, amazing health for a mage, good speed, great defense, above average critical hit chance. So this character just has awesome stats across the board for mage, like crazy good stats. Imprint releases dual attack chance, so that way if you want to be a dual gamer and just RNG people in an already RNG heavy format, fine. Imprint concentration being attack percentage is huge because this character is just damage. After looking at her kit, she's just all the damage in the world. So if her multipliers are good, you're really going to want to triple S this one. If you're like a mega whale or a big fan, I think you get 1 copy of Rimiru, and then you get as many copies of this girl as you can get because she's nuts. And we'll talk about that why now. So another passive skill character on S2, which is the meta. Like all the best characters in the game feel like they just have a really insane S2 passive for the most part. So she has Dragon Eye Milum. At the start of the battle and at the end of the turn has a 70 to 100% chance, depending on Malagora, to grant Dragon Eye Milum to her for 1 turn. When the caster is granted Dragon Eye Milum at the start of the turn, dispels stealth from all enemies, ignores effect resistance. When focus is full after attacking, she will consume all focus to activate Dragon Buster. So, first thing you should note, dispels stealth from all enemies. So, Landy is in trouble already because this character is a red character. She's a damage dealer. And that Guiding Light is not going to save you from her because she just sees right through it at the start of the fight. Yeah, that's good. So then you get the unique buff that it gives Milum, which increases her hit chance. So she is an answer to evasion characters like Violet and Remnant Violet. And you already guys know, if you've been paying attention to World Arena, Green Violet's played a lot. He is really annoying and really obnoxious to play against. So she's on color, so she already has a good matchup against him. And now you get the hit chance as well. And then it gives her an innate 20% evasion. She just has an extra, like a base 20% evasion on the character. And it cannot be dispelled. So, yeah. This feels like already, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, or it'll become more apparent with the S3, but this feels like an Angel of Light Angelica situation where it's like, well, people are complaining about cleaves, so let's make really good answer to cleave and control in the form of Angelica, and then she ends up being like the best cleave control character. This is supposed to be the answer to the evasion meta, and she's probably going to be the evasion meta. Like, rather than answer Violet, she's just going to join Violet and become the new Violet. So yeah, then she has Dragon Buster, which is an AoE attack against all enemies that removes 10 souls. So if you have, max focus after you activate an attack, you're just going to drain 10 souls and deal a bunch of damage to the whole enemy team on top of this hit chance as well. So let's look at really quick. Let's look at this Dragon Buster. So here's what Dragon Buster looks like when you have 5 focus. This is what it's going to end up looking like. All right. So yeah. This passive is just ridiculous. And the stuff you can do with this character is really insane. We'll talk about that once we get through the entire skill set. So Dragon Fear is the S3, 4 to 5 turn cooldown depending on Malagora. Releases mana to attack the enemy, inflicting extinction on the enemy when it is defeated. And then it gives her an evasion buff for 3 turns. So evasion buff is increased 50% evasion, I believe. I'm sure it might be 30 to 50. So, but that's still really good. I believe it's 50 though. When the enemy is not an elite or boss monster, damage sharing effects are ignored. So it's like Pavel as well. It ignores damage share. So this, it's kind of like designer. What's his name? Not designer. Top model Lulika's S3, but it gives an evasion buff at the end of it, and it gives the focus. And remember, Dragon Buster procs at 5 focus, so if Dragon Fear puts you at 5 focus or over 5 focus when you use Dragon Fear, not only will you potentially inflict extinction on the entire enemy, which is very easy because it ignores damage share, it gets through Arius and things like that, but then you will go right into Dragon Buster for more punishment. So that's a lot. Like this is a really powerful S3. it does a lot. Like, I don't think it's readily apparent that like Dragon Fear going into Buster is a thing that's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And then you look at Dragon Dive, which is her S1. It is an enemy attack that gives lifesteal. It has built-in lifesteal. So this character will recover life whenever she attacks, and it gives her an attack buff for 1 turn. That's really good. Especially when we look at her artifact, it'll become really apparent what this character is trying to do. But the increased attack buff and the soul burn, that's a problem. You guys already know how I feel about soul burn grants an extra turn. So what's going to happen is you're going to just go in there, you're going to soul burn your Dragon Dive, get your health back if you're missing it, get your attack buff for 1 turn, get the extra turn. Then you're going to Dragon Fear, kill a character with the attack buff that you just got off of Dragon Dive, and get the extinction. And then, oh, look, I have 5 focus. Let me Dragon Buster on top of that while I still have the attack buff. Absolutely nuts. It's like a fighting game character. It's just my S1 soul burn combos into my S3 combos into my S2. Oh, by the way, I have an evasion buff now. And the evasion buff is really good when we look at the artifact, which is when the caster suffers a non-critical hit, has a 30% chance to counterattack. 15 to 30%. So 30%, that's counter set. Oh, wait, and her basic skill has lifesteal on it. Oh, and she has a 50% evasion buff from using the S3, and she has an innate 20% dodge chance. Who does that sound like? Oh, that's Violet. Oh, this character's just red Violet. And, oh wait, she countered, not only did she lifesteal, but she got an attack buff off of it. Oh, and now I have 5 focus. Now I'm going to Dragon Buster your entire team and strip your souls. What? What is this character? She's so incredibly good. Like, actually just insanely good character. This character is a meta character. Like, if you thought Violet was a problem, this is Violet, but it's AoE all the time and taking your souls. So that's what I was saying. It's like Angelica. You thought you were getting the final nail in the coffin to cleave and control, and she just ended up being the cleave control character. She's the answer to Violet, but she's also just going to join Violet. Like, right now, you've probably seen cleave players go, first pick Violet, and then I draft cleave after that, because Violet beats cleave. They're just going to draft the Milum, because the Milum's the same character, but can team wipe you, because it's AoE. The character is just insane, and you have 2 obvious ways that you can go with her. Obviously, upgraded Dragon Knuckles is probably the way to go, because it turns her into Violet and gives her the counterattack chance. But if you don't have this, if you're not like a Giga Whale, you do have that book option, because like I said, soul burning the S1 to get the attack buff to extinct a character on S3, and going into Dragon Buster is a lot of damage. It's probably going to kill a character and completely cripple the rest of their team. This character is very, very aggressive. Like, this character is hard to kill because of the evasion chance, the high defense on the character, and a reasonably high health total for a mage, and the evasion chance. Like, just absolutely nutty character. Absolutely nutty character. Definitely pull for this. If you can only afford to get either Rimiru or Milum, get Milum. Milum just feels like she is just going to be an absolute monster to play against. Like, I expect this character to be banned quite a bit. Quite a bit in World Arena. So let's talk about the welfare character, which is Shuna. This is the free one that they're going to get. The nicest thing I can say about her is that she is a Fire Soul Weaver of the Gemini Zodiac symbol, so she has really, really nice stats overall. Like, great stats for a Soul Weaver. Imprint concentration being effect resistance is nice because she does have a cleanse in her kit. Release is very whatever. This is about the best part I can say about this character is the stats. Like, they're good. Yeah, let's just look at the kit. It'll become apparent. So her S2 is Blooming Lotus, 2 souls upon use, 4 to 5 turn cooldown depending on Malagora, and you get 3 focus when you use it. And this focus, her being a focus mechanic character, is the problem with her. So it dispels 2 debuffs from all allies and redistributes the health of all allies to be equal before granting a barrier for 3 turns. Barrier strength increases proportional to her max health. So now, as I understand it, redistributing means that it's like, okay, well, my Soul Weaver is at 5% health, and I have a damage dealer at 100% health. All right, well, I'm going to just take half my damage dealer's health to boost her health up to to half essentially. That can backfire really badly. And then obviously it's meant to be like a super DN S2 where it dispels 2 buffs instead of 1 and gives you the barrier, but like couldn't it have just been a full cleanse? Like did it really have to not be really have to be only 2? I really feel like this character needed to be a full cleanse. Like I feel like they just, I don't know. There's just so many problems with this character, and we'll talk about that going into her S1, which is next, which is Magicule Explosion. Attacks the enemy by manipulating Magicules and recovering health of the caster. Damage dealt and amount recovered increases proportional to the max health of her. So we'll see how much health she gets back. If she gets like a ton back off this, sure. And you get 1 focus when you use it, but this is Ruel, Destina, Tamarin S1, right? But it can only heal her. It can't heal anyone else on your team. It only can heal Shuna. So she's a healer that can only heal herself, and then she has to redistribute her health total to the other characters on the enemy team. Obviously has this extra turn soul burn, but that's just because you need it in order to get focus so that you can finally use her S3 sleeping spell. So sleeping spell uses up 5 focus. To use it, you can't use it unless you have 5 focus. So you can't even use her S3 at the start of the fight, which is rough. Dispels 2 buffs from all enemies. Not even a full strip. It's just 2 buffs from all enemies before having a 50 to 85% chance to sleep the enemy for 2 turns. So it's a non-attack skill. So this move opens you up to getting hit by Politis, opens you up by getting hit by Celine, and it is a 2-turn, 2 buff dispel and a sleep. So it's just a poor man's Angel of Light Angelica. Yeah, it doesn't really do a whole lot. Like you sleep them, cool. What if you have an AoE character after it? Is that it? We're done here? So yeah, I'm not super big fan of it. She has no real way to deal damage. She can only heal herself. Her cleanse is not as good as other cleansers. Yeah, it just feels like it's just not a lot. I'm not really sold on this character. If somebody in the comments below thinks I'm wrong and you want to try to explain to me how to better use the character, I'm all for it. But I personally feel this is the worst welfare character we've ever gotten. I think Kizuna Ai is better than this character because Kizuna Ai was a poor man's DN that you could use as a new player to get through Abyss if you didn't have DN and you just needed a Soul Weaver. I have used Kizuna Ai in champion level World Arena in the past and, you know, gotten W's because of her. I don't see me using this character. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see it. I don't really feel like this character just has too many restrictions on it for no real reason, other than they just didn't want to make her super strong because she's free. But like Soul Bad Guy is the best golem character in the game, and he has niche applications in other areas. Like he was decent for Hell Raid if you're a newer player, so he was good there. Ram is probably the best Blue Expedition character in the game, and one of the best, if not the best, Banshee character in the game. So like excellent welfare character. I don't know where I'm supposed to use this character. Like this if you guys let me know down in the comments below if there's something I missed, please let me know. But my analysis of this character right now is that she's super not good. So let's talk about the artifact. Gives up to 20% effect resistance, and then it gives her increased effectiveness by 15% at the start of the turn, stacking up to 45%. Yeah, I don't really know what Soul Weaver would want this. Maybe there's one in the future that might want it, but yeah, again, just the whole kit and the artifact is just super uninspiring and just doesn't feel like it's super good. Who is super good though is Spirit Eye Celine, and this like breaks my heart because like I just got Apocalypse Ravi and now I have no resources, and you guys know how much I love Celine here at the channel. Like, I made the How to Play Celine video when she was not super popular. Now she's reasonably popular. I love Celine. It's one of my best geared characters. She's awesome. She's basically the closest I can get to playing Corinne in PvP, and that's pretty much my favorite character alongside Luna. So, let's take a look at her stats. So, Spirit Eye Celine is a light thief of the Sagittarius zodiac symbol. It fails me if whether or not there is another one that shares it, but you know, it's not Scorpio, so I'm already good. You guys know I hate Scorpio thieves here on the channel. Just absolutely terrible defensive stats. So 1,158 attack is decent. 5,000 health is low, but it's okay for a thief where I let it go. 122 speed is quite fast, guys. That's really, really fast. It definitely means that this character is going to be zooming. She's going to be in like the 270, 280 speed bracket if you want her to be, for the most part. Defense 532, which we take those because any thief with decent defense I'm all about, because this is actually good for a thief. Very high critical hit chance of 27%. Imprint release is effect resistance again, as you can probably sense a trend here, right? This character, or I'm saying this imprint release is just to try to combat the sheer amount of debuffs that are in the meta that are pretty much impossible to deal with otherwise. Imprint concentration being critical hit chance is huge. Makes the burden of gear on this character a lot lower for players. So extra dupes of this character are really, really good. This is probably the best imprint concentration in the game. So yeah, this one's really, really good. So now let's talk about this character. And I do think, spoiler, I do think this is a meta character. I do think this is a character you pull for if you are serious about World Arena, especially if you do not have Maid Chloe. So her S2 passive is Sixth Sense. Really sick icon, by the way. This is super awesome looking. Damage suffered in one attack does not exceed 70 to 51% chance at max Malagora. You basically cannot exceed more than half of her health in one attack. She basically has Tempest turn passive. Decreases the skill cooldown by 1 turn whenever somebody dies and acquires 5 souls. So your cooldown on your S3 will reduce by 1 every time somebody dies, and you will get 5 extra souls. Effects upon death are only activated once per turn upon a hero's death. So I believe that just means that, like, if like multiple heroes die, you only get 1 skill cooldown reduction. You don't get like all of it. But yeah, this is basically Tempest turn passive without the stealth and the CR push, but instead you just get a bunch of souls and decrease her cooldown on her S3 if somebody dies. So we already know Tempest turn passive, really, really, really strong. So now let's talk about her S3, which is Spirit Gate, Burning Possession. Has a 5 to 6 turn cooldown depending on Malagora, and this will be reduced as characters die throughout the battle. You will reduce this down to obviously 0, so it's up again. Opens the Gate of the Spirits, dispelling all debuffs from the caster. So on par with Celine, because she already, regular Celine, dispels all debuffs from her when she uses her S3. And then it makes the caster possessed for 3 turns. Additionally, it revives all dead allies before granting immortality to all allies for 1 turn. It's another re-raise character. Revived characters, super busted. Apocalypse Shravi, who I just made a how to play video on, super busted. Maid Chloe, super busted. Ruel has literally always been meta relevant. Having another reviver, for sure this character is going to see play just because it's an AoE revive. For sure. Additionally, she gets Possession. So, Possession is she will counterattack whenever she suffers a critical hit. When attacking, absorbs some of the damage dealt as health. It cannot be dispelled. So basically, when you use her S3, your whole team gets immortality. It revives everybody who's back, or who's already dead. I'm sorry. And then you basically get counter set and lifesteal set for free. So it's another counter character. She's just fast this time. You get to be on speed set and counter set and lifesteal set all at the same time. By the way, she's Maid Chloe. So yeah, really, really nuts character just from the first 2 skills alone, right? I'm just showing you what it looks like. And then obviously they show you like, oh, well, your characters come back at 1 HP, but they don't die. So yeah. Character just being a reviver, again, just means that she is definitely going to see play. So let's talk about this S1. Mighty Strike attacks the enemy with a sheath. When this skill is used, if it was not triggered by a dual attack, has a 35% chance to use Nimble Sword instead of Mighty Strike. So notice that it's not by a dual attack, which means counters, yes, you can counter with it. When the caster is possessed, this effect chance is doubled to 70%. This skill does not trigger a dual attack. So, Nimble Sword dispels 1 debuff from the caster before swiftly attacking the enemy. Penetrates the target's defense by 35%. So you get a stronger move with defense penetration. Very reminiscent of Closure Charles S1. So, and you have a 70% chance as long as you are possessed. And you can get this off of a counter, off of possessed. And then finally, her Soul Burn. Oh, look, it's the really broken one that we keep talking about. Grants an extra turn. Now, this is relevant because if you've ever played Maid Chloe, granting an extra turn is insane on the character because it is the deciding factor on whether or not you get the clutch revive off to save your team and win the game. The fact that this is a defense penetrating move that has extra attack that can also give you a revive on the rest of your team. Whew, what a character. And remember, she's fast, she has decent attack, she can revive, got Tempest Serum passive. It's a lot. This character is really good. Like, mark my words, this character is absolutely meta. Like, this is a reviver for potentially cleave teams, for standard teams. She's just really good. And this is why I was saying earlier in the video, Rimaru Tempest might be the answer to her, because she might trigger Rimaru Tempest. You might get the immortality for your entire team. And if her passive is like Tempest Cern and Rimaru's S3 deals the damage after the passive is applied, Rimaru Tempest can one-shot this character and makes her an amazing answer to this character. Really, really, really strong character, like I said. Not much else to say. Definite pull. Definite pull, for sure. 100% is a pull. Unless you're like a new player who just doesn't have a lot. If you're an intermediate or veteran player, especially if you plan to play World Arena, you pull for Celine. You absolutely try to get Celine if you can. Is it worth it to pass on Apocalypse Ravi for Spirit Eye Celine? That one, I don't know. The jury's still out on that one. Ravi is a known quantity. She is very good. She is one of the meta characters. I do think Celine will be a meta character. And I do think if you don't have Maid Chloe, like I know there are certain streamers that are very popular that do not have Maid Chloe, you should probably get Celine. You should get Celine. And that's pretty much it. Those are my thoughts on everything that was shown today. As always, again, I keep saying it, but let me know down in the comments below if I missed anything. Hopefully you enjoyed this analysis. I'm going to take off because I have other things that I have to take care of this day. You enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week if I don't see you or talk to you then. And as always, have a good one. Bye-bye.